You touched on it there, and it's made the headlines a lot this week. The kicking game. What was it this time last year? A wee bit before that, World Rugby came in, put in sort of new stimulations and laws that you can't escort and block, so to speak, the chasers of the kick, and you're
Have to
trying
clear the
to,
runway
yeah,
essentially.
clear the runway. Now that has happened, and people are saying the game's too long. More scrums are happening because people are knocking on, and it's actually advantageous to the kicking team, not what it was originally supposed to be brought in to be the catching team, if that makes sense, and they should have quick ball and it should create more space in the backfield. Mike Prendergast's very vocal, saying he doesn't agree with it, doesn't
Yeah,
like it.
Ross Byrne spoke
Ross
about it
Byrne,
as well.
I think Johnny
Who's
Sexton mentioned as well.
yeah,
What is your overall summation for it? My thing would be yes, while that's happened, but before we had long caterpillar rucks, and it wasn't exactly a gorgeous spectacle either. But maybe it was better back then.
yeah. I think if you're obviously if you're in, it is encouraging more kicking now because it's a way in the game that you can retain the ball. And Bath did that 11 times. They retained possession from kicks. They kicked the ball 38 times in the game, which is a lot. When you're getting into the late 20s, early 30s with kicking, it just people don't want to see that. But it's so effective, and all the video analysts of all the teams will be presenting the stats to their coaches, saying, "Well, here's the percentage of returns that are happening across the board." So you can't blame teams for doing it. And obviously, if you've more, some would argue then it's a 50-50 scenario. So if you're good enough, you can win it in the backfield and retain the ball and win that kick. But yeah, we're seeing a lot of 50-50 ball bobbling everywhere, scrums, knock-ons, all that kind of stuff. And we want to see running rugby. We want to see people moving the ball. But coaches, teams, are they going to choose the latter? Because that's what the stats suggest. And I think we've seen a little shift in Ireland this year in obviously in the way they've changed their game, and they're probably looking to play more territory and get into the opposition half quicker. And again, this is all based on stats and results. I don't have them in front of me, but the stats are showing that this is the quickest possible outcome for you in gaining territory by kicking well. Um, you have people like Mike Prendergast and Ross Byrne. Obviously, if Mike Prendergast is coming out after the Bath game saying that, well, their back three weren't really good at retaining possession, but the fact that you've other people saying it in the game and that it's causing a little bit of frustration, but ultimately. This isn't World Rugby or somebody sitting in an office deciding to make these law changes. All the coaches and unions have a say in all this stuff, and it was brought in for the right reasons to probably stop this illegal blocking and actually make it more of a contest. And so it's, I suppose they'll look at this again and decide when people are being vocal about it within the game, because look,
Is there a bit of you thinks that our teams in Ireland just need to be better in the air as well?
absolutely, 100%. So it is what it is. So be better at pick the right players. Ross Byrne referenced possibly in the future that they'll be putting second rows out as wingers to box kick off, line outs and scrums and stuff like that. But look, who knows? I think you just need to be better. I think in an overall context, we don't want to see scrum halves like there's a 5 second rule because a number of years back, you could see the ball at the base of rucks for 7, 8, 10 seconds. That's changed with the referees demanding scrum halves use it within that 5 seconds. But it's a risk reward scenario, and teams are deciding not to take as much risk. And if you have brilliant backfield players or brilliant wingers who can actually chase and dive through the air, Hugo Keenan's an outstanding exponent of probably winning 90% of those 50-50 ones in the air. But if the kick is really good, it's a bit of a lottery when there's a number of players in under it. So there's certain people in the game who are outstanding at that. Keenan Moody is brilliant for South Africa the way because he's big as well. He's tall, and his application is brilliant the way he gets in the air. And you can imagine if you're a winger or a full back and you're waiting under the ball, the momentum is all with the guy chasing and getting through the air. And so, yeah, it's something that probably needs to be looked at. If the numbers are saying that, well, it's increasing the amount of kicking and it's taken away from possibly teams attacking and moving the ball. But as I said, coaches are trying to get results. They're trying to keep their jobs. They're trying to nudge forward into different parts of the competition. And they'll always take the path of least resistance in the sense of getting that territory. And I remember Munster won a URC in the Stormers in 2023. And to be fair, they kicked excellently off the base of the rucks and from out half as well. And Shane Daly and Calvin Nash that day were outstanding in retaining, getting ball back. So, if it's working for you, you won't have a problem with it. But obviously, if you have a day then where... but I think, as I said, in the overall context, if we're seeing scrum halves just
and the
constantly
game's probably
going
too
to...
long.
Yeah, and look, there's a big trend in the Gallagher Premiership of a lot of kicking, high number of kicks. So, look, the coaches and the power brokers in the game certainly need to look at it and be aware and conscious of that.
Maybe it doesn't help as well that the week Mike Prendergast, as you say, is coming out. Ben Spencer's probably arguably the best box kicker in the world, or certainly in Europe anyway.
Yeah. And look, to be fair, Mike is that attack mindset. He wants to move the ball and
keep ball alive.
Yeah. And look, definitely if you're in your own half, it's an effective tool, isn't it? And that's the reality. So we can't take it away. You have to be able to... We don't want teams to, from a kick-off, win the ball, slow ruck, solid defence in front of you and expect the team to run it out and start throwing it out, moving it right across their back line. No, of course, it's an important part of the game that you can... And it's a great part of the game as well, in a sense. I love those challenges. But if the trend is showing that teams are continuously doing this way out the field, even in the opposition half, maybe it needs to be looked at.